Good morning, my name is Nate Moore. I'm a member of the applications crew here at Melco. This morning we're going to be talking about laser registration and how to line up your designs to either a mark on the garment or a pocket, an edge, things like that. How to make sure that you are even with it and straight and everything's sewing out the way that you think it should and where you think it should. Places to look for this, I would go to Melco University and Melco-service.com. Melco-service.com has all your manuals on there. I'm going to scroll down to the Melco OS since we're dealing with the machine. And on this page, if you go down, you can find the manuals for which version of the software that you're using and hopefully the language that you can understand. If I go to the English version, I'm going to pull this up. And then if I scroll down, I'll get my table of contents. And I'm trying not to make you guys car sick. And then I keep doing that. Laser alignment is what I'm looking for. Another way that you can do this is to press Control F on your keyboard and just look up even the word laser, and it will find it in there for you. If you click on these are a link and it'll take you right to this page. So let me move this over to here. There we go. And leave me alone for that. And so with this, we can go through and see how to use this and how it aligns. So basically, let me close that out of the way. We are going to have a line on the garment. We're going to find one side and input it with the machine. Say, here's one. And typically, I use the version that's being displayed right now where it centers it. So I'll do laser left on one side, and then I will move the hoop over to the other side, and I will do laser, not that one, laser left again. I do the one that's centered. And then I will do laser and the center key, or some people call it the bullseye key, and it will tilt it and align it and center it up and get it where you want it to go.
Good morning, Nate. Hey, it's Mike Doe here, and Scott Stingle's with us as well. Real quick, before we get going too much, I'm going to jump over here, and I just want to mention a couple things. So Nate is going to be leading us through laser alignment, really cool tool like Nate was talking about to do stuff like over your pocket. I do have some embroidery on. Whoever's looking for my embroidery, it's a Chaps logo, so we're good. But Nate is going to be talking about laser alignment. I just want to give Nate some props. Nate has been here at Melco. I think you just celebrated your 12-year anniversary.
Yeah.
12-year anniversary here at Melco. Really, really cool. I just can't tell you how much I've learned from this guy over the last 12 years, and so blessed to have him in our life. Nate also just got a promotion here at Melco. He's taken ownership of a lot of our software and machines. So to have a user be the owner of that is really, really cool. So mad props to Nate. Also want to throw out some attaboys to the service department, Dan's team. If you go to melco-service.com, and I think Nate's going to go there here in a bit, their FAQ site is the bomb. So Dan, your guys' team is doing great. Also want to just do a shout out for the love of Melco. So if you're a user and you're not a part of this Facebook group, man, you should really check it out because you can learn lots from non-Melco people, users just like yourself. So Rachel and Sam, and there's this other lady, and she's just, I don't know her name. So there's another person, I'm sorry I don't know your name, email me so I know it next time, but Rachel and Sam are doing a phenomenal job on there. So Nate, thanks for everything you do. Scott, thank you for everything you do too. And I'll let Nate get back to his business, but attaboy, Nate.
Sorry about that. Totally didn't do any introductions. I was planning, I didn't know if these guys would be here, so all day yesterday in my head I was by myself, so when I started this morning I was by myself in my head when I have these guys beside me. So thank you guys. Total derail. You were talking, no, you came in and introduced, I was talking about laser alignment. I showed you guys the manual, I think.
Let's just do it again.
I will go back and do it again because, yeah, super not sure. Total derail. Other things, yeah. So yes, we did, because it was up and I talked about, yes. Again, Melco support, so Melco tech site, melco-service.com. Super useful for all of that. And you can find these manuals by your machine or by the software, either one, and they'll link to the same place. Here's that For the Love of Melco, which is pretty great, and For the Love of Melco embroidery machines. Another resource that you guys have available to you is our YouTube channel. YouTube, there are tons and tons and tons of videos on there, and one of the easiest ways to find us is to just in the search bar type Melco Education, and this channel will pop up. And you were not kidding. Mike said we've done a fair amount of videos, and we've done more than 124. Just 124 is what we've posted to this page. But in this page, you have, of course, all the ones that I've uploaded, but you've got playlists here as well. So if you want to go by category, internet's super slow right now. You've got all of our live sessions. You've got embroidery applications. So you can go through and kind of do it by topic, which is
Can you do
helpful.
a search? Let's say I was interested in needles, and could I search on needles on this site as well?
I think so, although last time I tried it, I searched all of YouTube and not just my channel or our channel.
I think that channel, what you're doing right there,
Yeah,
allows us to do just that
I
channel.
think you're right, but I totally
Cool.
forget that and go to the, so anyway, yes, you can just, it's a different search bar to search only this channel.
Awesome. Yeah, and most of this too, once again, that FAQ site that that Dan and the service team runs, they're really, really good about having that stuff under the FAQ.
So from melco-service.com, you can just click on the FAQ and get there. Or you could get there if my wireless was a little faster. Sorry. All right. So about this laser alignment bit, when I'm looking at lining things up, typically what I will do is find a mark, and I will choose points that are very, very far apart, or as far apart in the hoop as I can possibly get, because it's more accurate. So if I, giant ruler here, if I go clear out on the edges of this line, and I move my hand just a little bit, it's a very, very subtle movement. So if my 2 points, where my pinch points are just a little bit off, it's going to make tiny, tiny adjustments. If I'm trying to line up something that's really, really close and I make a tiny, tiny movement with my hand, that adjustment is way bigger, way bigger. So just be careful with that. As far apart as you can get, and you'll get a far more accurate alignment. When we're dealing with laser alignment or design registration or whatever you want to call it today, what we're actually lining up to is the axis in Design Shop. So when I turn on the origin, which is this guy right here.
The axis in Design Shop. Axis in Design Shop.
Yeah, I never remember if it's the X or Y, which we're really lining up to. In my head, it's the X, but I think it's the 0Y axis. It's this horizontal line right here.
Okay.
This is what we're lining up to most of the time. Now, there are options to add fiddly bits to your design and have a vector line and have it go exactly to the points that you want it to and not have it be horizontal. But this is definitely where I would start, and this is what I use probably the most often because it doesn't scale my design. I'm getting exactly the stitches that I think I am. So this is what I'm lining up to. So let's look at it in a more practical application. I'm going to just type a name, and I'm going to center this design. Let's make it a little bit smaller so it doesn't take quite so long to sew out. Scott's been using this computer. Scott turns the number lock off, and I can't function without a 10 key. It just makes me nuts. So I'll go in. I will go center out. I'm just doing something pretty quick. I think I have all the defaults, so yeah, we're good. Underlay, all that kind of good stuff. Yep, we're good. So I've got this design set up. Let's trim between there. There we go. And it, again, will line up directly over this line. So I'm going to send this over to the machine. File, machine, load design. And now we need something to line up to. So got my handy dandy fabric, and since a lot of times we'd be lining up to a pocket, I'm going to draw one. So pockets are what, 3 inches wide? Maybe a little less. This looks like a little pocket, but
maybe 4. Mine's 4, but I'm a big boy, so.
All right, so you get the idea. It's a pocket. So I'm gonna line this up, hoop it. Obviously you would have a full shirt and you would be lining up to real things, but I'm doing this as a bit of a cautionary tale because where it's lining up right now, and wow did I hoop crooked, I also hooped very poorly.
The funny thing is when you try to hoop crooked,
You can't?
you hoop straight. And when you try to hoop straight,
Yeah.
it's the weirdest thing.
All right, so I've got my pocket here. I'm going to load it onto the machine. Now, my machine is not very well lit at the moment. I have gaffer's tape covering up the lights. Yours will be better lit, but in order to make the lasers show up for you guys on camera, I had to cover those up so that you could see it a little bit better. And then
So you set the mood
it's
lighting.
what it was. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to this. And what I'm going to do, you can see that laser, yeah? A little bit. I'm going to move over to one corner of the pocket. So I'm just using the hoop and the arrow keys. And now I am on the very edge of that pocket. That is a little hard to see still, sorry. I will press laser and left. And if you forget, you can go back to your manual. You can print out that page, stick it by your machine. I'm going to then move over. When I pressed laser left, I don't know if my mic picked it up, but the machine did beep.
The light also blinks, right? So the machine beeps and the light blinks. I don't know if you knew that. No, the actual laser blinks as well.
Does it?
It does.
It does.
Yeah, so if it's a loud area, let's say you've got multiple machines sewing, you can actually, when you do the laser left, laser bullseye, which I just pulled your steam out, sorry.
No, you're good.
You can see the light blink. So don't be afraid of using your eyes as well as your ears, depending on the environment.
And you may actually have to pay attention, unlike somebody else we know.
We all learn. I do, every day.
So I did laser left on one side, I went to the other and did laser left again, and that may be a little different than what you're expecting, but this will cause it to rotate and center. So now I need to just say, I've got my 2 points, go ahead and center it up for me. Before I do that, I want to go over to the software. So right now you can see it's really kind of funky in the hoop. It's not where I think it is at all. What's going on? I'm going to press laser center on the machine. It did beep. It just moved my hoop and it rotated the design to line up to that. So now, you know what? I should probably tell it what color I want it to sew in.
That's always a good thing.
And I should probably do something that we can see. Let's do green. All right. So now I'm going to trace it because I always trace it. And now if I wasn't trying to do a really, really good bad example, I would be very aware that as I traced this, I would be sewing my pocket shut because that design was right over that red line and I lined up to the top of my pocket. Half of my design is above the top of the pocket, half of my design is exactly on the pocket. So yeah, super bad idea. I'm going to do it anyway. You know what?
Press your foot up.
Way up, and the needle is, I have no scissors. The needle is way tilted. So instead of me fighting this right now, and this is why you choose the same.
So I'm gonna do some commentary as you do this.
You do whatever you feel like it.
So one of the questions that I have, I know the answer, but unfortunately I'm gonna act like I don't.
Okay.
What machine types can use this laser alignment above a pocket, you know, to align a design. Obviously, the EMT16 Plus can.
I think all of them.
I think the only one that I can think of that can't is the Bravo A and B package. I don't think Light.
I don't think I knew there was the package difference.
Yeah, so the only ones I believe, and I might be wrong, I'll post on this, guys, but I believe everybody except the A and B, and I'll double check on that and get back to you on that. But yeah, Bernina, E16s, Melcos, and Bravo C package for sure, and we'll double check on the A and B. Scott, does that sound about right?
On the spot.
I'm thinking it works. I never heard that it didn't work for Bravo.
For Bravos?
We'll check.
Yeah, well, good thoughts there, Scott. All right, and back at it. We've got the needle in right and the presser foot down.
I just super changed. I didn't even back up far enough, but since it's a really good bad example, it's a really good bad example. You can see it sewing out. You can see it sewing that pocket perfectly shut.
Oh.
Man, that's unfortunate.
You're getting a lot of congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That's super sweet. Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun. We've done a lot of things together here. It's been quite a ride. Yeah, you're not putting anything in that pocket anymore. So how do I combat that? What do I do as this is sewing out and sewing my pocket shut? This is not what I want. So what you could choose to do is laser align it to the top of the pocket and then manually move it up. Now my problem is, as I'm doing that, if I'm at an angle, as I move it just straight up or straight off, I'm trying to guess at what's perpendicular and make that look right. I don't want to guess that much. I don't like doing all that. So what I'll do instead is go back to my software, and to avoid the problem, I'm just going to offset this off of that line. So an easy way to do that, I can measure it, I can do all that stuff, but you guys know I'm pretty lazy. I'm going to right click on my grid, and my grid, the darker lines are currently set to 1/2 inch, and I typically set my designs 1/4 inch above a pocket. So what I'll do is I'll just set my subdivisions to 2. You could do full inches and 4 or whatever you want to do. And then I'm going to move this up, and I have snap to grid mode on right now. I'll turn that off if you want more.
That's actually a pretty cool
movements.
feature, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice. I use it quite frequently, but then I also, when I don't want it and I forget that it's on, I'm like, why is my mouse jumping around? And that's why.
And
so,
can you show us where that feature is?
yeah, it's under View, and it's snap to grid. Now the fun thing about this is you don't have to have your grid visible for it to work, and you can change the sizing of your grid to match how minute you want your movements. All right, so I have this now. If I go File, Machine, Load Design, and now have it open at the machine. Wow, yeah. That's super not gonna work.
So, raise of hands in this room, how many of us have sewn pockets shut before?
Not yet.
No,
Oh, really?
That's weird.
Okay, so Mike Doe is the only one that's done this here in this room. If you're at home, raise your hand so I don't feel lonely here, okay?
Yeah, going just slightly above the pocket is a way better option.
So I got a question on that though. You said about 1/4 inch above.
That's what I typically do.
And so every time you use the laser alignment on each pocket, let's say you've got a dozen shirts to do, it's going to be centered between those 2 points as well as 1/4 inch above wherever those 2 points were. Is that how that works?
I think the answer was yes, but I was doing math at the same time.
So
yes, it's always centered between those 2 points, and it's
Yep.
always whatever I set the design above that red line, that's what it's always going to be. So I will use that offset. I know that we as digitizers always say, center your design before you send it to the machine. Always, always, always. I'm the exception. I
that
don't
actually,
do that.
you know where that
for a
came
reason.
from? That came from back in the day before we were able to display hoops on the machine. everybody would center the design because they could then take and drop the needle. No, I'm serious.
No, I get it.
This is God's honest truth. The other thing that I would mention is we had somebody call into the service group a couple weeks ago, and like, we're using laser alignment, and we did laser left, laser bullseye, but the design has always shifted to the left of those 2 points. And
that's a good point.
And
so
the reason for that is?
It's off center, but it's off center left and right. So when you go to the center, it's a really good point. When you go to the center
in Design Shop,
Design Shop, this marks that center. So again, you can use that if you want to. You can be right to the edge of it, and so you can use wherever that laser is. And now wherever my laser would be, it would be left and right lined up on that line, but it would still be 1/4 of an inch above it. So you can use, like, right here's where your laser is. So that's a really nice reference for it. This line sets your angle. This line sets your placement along that line. So super handy placement for that. I'm going to hit undo, otherwise I'm going to forget what I was doing. And so, you know what, I'm just going to send this again because I don't remember if I did it right. File, machine, load design. All right, so now I have a really crooked pocket again. And this time I'm going to sew it and not sew my pocket shut, I hope. Sometimes I have sewn the back of a shirt to a front.
Oh,
I have done that as well. I guess,
Which is why
see,
I'm
I'm not
using
as
real
detail-oriented as you guys are. You guys are way more detail-oriented than I am, but I've done it. I think I've done it all. I've even gotten a drawstring back in the EMT 10 days, a drawstring of a hoodie sucked up into the hook. And it was actually 2 days before Christmas, and I was jonesing because I had 100 hoodies that I had to do that day. And God bless the service group. I was able to get online. I can't remember who I spoke to. I think they retired a couple years ago. But yeah, luckily they hooked me up on how to get the string out and make sure everything was back to normal. And I was back in sewing in about an hour.
So I had been sewing for 8+ years on competitions machines before I bought a Melco machine with my own company. And the very, very first jacket I sewed on my machine, back to front. I invented words that day. All right, so I have this hooped up. I'm going to, again, go over and down. One thing I should mention, am I far enough? Yes, I am. So I am on the left part of that pocket, and if I look at my software right now, my software's like freaking out. It says, hey, hoop limits detected. Yes, it absolutely is. Am I going to be sewing there? No. But is my first point there? Yes. So that's okay. So if you see this, don't stress about it.
Okay, good
Please
point.
don't stress about it too much. And then I'm going to go laser left, and then move over, and up. Laser left again, and laser center. And it's going to, I'll let it, there you go. So you saw it move.
Yep.
If I press on the laser right now, and here, let me get the grabber out of your way so you can see it a little bit better. If I press that right now, that laser line is right on the top of my pocket.
Yep.
So that too feels a little scary. Am I going to sew my pocket shut?
Hopefully not.
No. In my software, I set it 1/4 of an inch above. So what you'll see is that if you trace it, the laser will go up and around and then back down to that origin point. So I'm going to do that real quick.
Oh yeah, nice.
So right over the top of that.
Yep.
I am going to change what color I'm sewing in so that I use the color that doesn't have the needle that's so far angled. I don't know who put that needle in, but I'm not using it. And we'll sew it again. So other things that you can do with this. So I'm offsetting from a line. So think about tops of pockets, obviously, lining up to a shirt like Mike was wearing or is wearing that you saw earlier that has that nice grid pattern that you really kind of need to line up to, otherwise you're really going to notice that it's off. Things like that. I'm totally in your way. So those are the kinds of things that you can do with that. Other things that you can think about using this tool for, we have a whole video on multiple placements. Following a line, you can make sure that you're lined up to the same line all the way across the form. I will do something like that for a border on a napkin or linens or things like that. So we can do that real quick too.
Yeah, and we have a question actually, Nate, if you don't mind. Marianne writes in, when you go beyond the size of the design using laser feature, does the design resize to the laser parameters?
Depends. So the way that we're doing it today, no, it does not scale, which is why I can choose those points that are so far apart. It does not scale. If we were using that vector line, then yes. So if you look in the manual and you see there's another way to do it where there's a red vector line in the OFM and it does different points for that, yes, it can scale using that feature. This is why I typically don't use that feature, is because I don't want things scaling. I want it to sew out exactly as I intended it.
Cool, thank you.
Now let's see if I can draw a crooked line while that's sewing out. So typically for this, if I'm lining up to, I need to take these permanent markers off my dry erase surface. Somebody likes to pretend he writes with permanent markers on my table.
That must be Scott.
It must be somebody. All right, so is this looking better?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's actually going to work.
Wow.
So I think that works really, really well. So right above the pocket, perfect placement, exactly even, just where I want it, exactly what I'm looking for. All right, so typically if I'm doing something where I'm going to either go along, long distance, or I'm going to have multiple placements, I will typically use either Taylor's chalk or that disappearing purple marker of wonder, but be careful where you live. I used disappearing Taylor's chalk for a larger design one time, and it disappeared before I was done.
Oh.
Because it said, hey, this lasts for 8 hours. And I'm like, great, it doesn't last for 8 hours in Colorado. So just be careful with that. I also will use, and you guys have seen me do this, I use a lot of painter's tape, so I can put it down, write on it, pull it up wherever I need to.
Yeah, painter's tape is the best, man.
And it's a little bright, but there we go. I am using just a permanent marker so that you can see it when I'm done, that it really did line up where and like we thought it was going to. So let's go into Design Shop again. And I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to do, you want to go on the line or above the line? Let's say the line is the edge, and I'll go above a line. And I'm just going to do a little decorative pattern real quick. So this would be like for the edging of table linens or something like that. I'm not that. I'm going to grab a decorative stitch. I'm going to grab one that's a little bit bigger but will hopefully sew out very quickly so that you guys don't have to listen to the machine. Go. Load design. And this hoop is not that hoop. This hoop is that hoop. There we go. Never lie to your machine. So here's a really good example. So on this, I have a really, really long line, but my design is not that big. Actually, let's go on the line for this one, and I'll show you how to do it twice. So I'm going to go on the line. Now, because I'm doing it twice, I want to have a really good reference of where I start and stop. So this is where I would typically use that vertical line to know where to line up to.
Ah. So meaning you're gonna tile the two pieces. I'm just repeating so I understand. You're going to tile that, and we want the alignment, like if we were doing multi-hooping or something.
Yes.
Got it. Oh, that's really cool. Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm going to attempt to do. And I will succeed if I actually pay attention to what I'm doing, which is always a question.
Especially with Mike Doe in the room.
Captain Distracto. All right, machine, load design. Now I just have to hope that I have enough room in here for both hoopings. I think I do. Looks like I do. All right, so let's get this on the machine. And that's right. Now, let's go back to here. And I will go over to one side of the line. Now, the trick about having multiple things line up is you need to know where you're going to start and where you're going to end. So if you saw the design in Design Shop, which I can make that happen again. If I look at the design into the Design Shop, my start point and my exit point are exactly on the same line. So they have the same number for Y.
Oh, okay.
That's super duper important.
Yep.
To make things go in the line that you think they're going to go. All right. Also, for my first point, it's on 0, 0. So what that means is wherever my laser is, that's where it's going to start. All right, so let's go back here. Let's go back here. So there's my first point. So I'm going to say, okay, laser left. And I'm going to go all the way over. Again, as far as I can. The farther the line is, or the farther the distance is, the more accurate I am. Okay, there we go. And then this time I'm going to use a different command. I'm going to go laser left on the first one, and then I think laser right, and then laser center, and that should, I believe, move it all the way over to the left edge when I'm done. Laser right, laser center. And I say I'm not super sure because I never remember and have to look it up. And had we not just looked at it in the manual, I would have gotten this wrong. So looking it up in the manual, having it there for reference is really, really nice for that. All right, so I've got that down. I'm going to trace it real quick. There we go. I'm going to press go. We'll also see how straight I can draw a line. So it's going to sew this guy out as it is sewing. Is that a good shot for you guys? Yeah, not bad. You can kind of see it.
Yep.
See if this one's a little better. That's a little better.
Yeah, yep.
All right, so it is sewing out right along that line. And then it stopped. Not sure why. There we go. All right. So now it's done. And I think you can see from that, but if not, let's go to this one. So if you look, you can also see that I can't draw a straight line when I'm drawing. There we go, it's following right along that line. So I got that out. Now I'm going to put this back in. There we go. And now I'm going to line it up again. In theory, I don't know about in practice, but in theory, since the angle hasn't changed, I should just be able to move it over to the next origin and press go. I'm a little nervous about that, so I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to move this down. I really want to believe that's true, but I'm too nervous to do it. So that's pretty good. Laser left. The nice thing about this is if you have a small enough motif and you keep doing this, you can even kind of ease your way around a curved surface, like a round tablecloth. It just takes a bit of patience because you have to do it in little bitty chunks. Oops. I just did laser left, laser center, so my origin is not where I want it to, but my angle is right. So now I just need to move back over. So if you're not paying attention, again, like me, you can move this back over. So my laser is now going to be right on that last stitch.
Yep.
That looks pretty good.
Yep.
And so I'm going to press the green button. It's going to start sewing right there. And continue sewing that key pattern.
Wow, very cool. Very cool. We had a question. Let me find that real quick. And it was from, I think it was from Dawn. Yeah, Dawn writes in, I'm brand new. These live videos are the best. Thank you, Dawn. I own a E16 Bernina with Bernina software. Hopefully I can follow your demos with my machine and software. Any thoughts? So probably, I think what she means, like, any thoughts on where to start?
So, yeah, a lot of the machine things we're talking about are totally transferable. One of the things that's going to be a little bit different is I believe you have different digitizing software. However, that 0, 0, X and Y, all that stuff that we were doing in Design Shop, you just need to be aware of that, and that is a transferable thing. You just have to know where all those tools are in your software. So yes, you can totally do this with other machines with E16, Bravo, the whole family that we have going, yes. The software bit is a little bit different, but you can even do this with expanded designs because they all have that 0, 0 origin kind of thing. All right, so did this work? Yes, it did. Now I'm going to do one more just to be silly. I'm going to do it one more time if I can fit in my hoop, which is a super good question. All right, come down, line up. And this time I'm not going to align it because I think it's going to work. Am I in the hoop? No. Yes, I am. Sweet. One more time. We also said that you can do more with this feature and different applications. We did a video a few months ago on multiple designs. We did holly and whatnot across a ribbon. We did a Thanksgiving pattern. So I guess that would have been in the fall.
I'll find the link and post it.
Mike's going to post it. It's on that YouTube channel, so it's in the live sessions if you look for it.
Okay.
It's in there too.
Thank you. Yep.
Easier way to find it. All right, so this is done. And that just went all the way across that line. So let's take a look at it. Not what I want. That's what I want. All right. So if I look, it is following all the way across that line. So you can continue a pattern across or just across the whole length of an element, or align a specific design, just a design to a line in the garment. Or we had one comment earlier about a decorative bar across a towel or a stripe on a towel, and to line up to that can be sometimes tricky. Not anymore. You have the tools for that. So other thoughts, other questions that we have on this?
Yeah. Did you have one, Scott?
I can't read fast enough while I'm doing this. Sorry.
Yeah, I've been kind of answering them.
As you go, you've been typing the answer.
Yeah, one of them that we got that I put an answer in is one of the gentlemen, I think it was Christopher, if I'm not mistaken. Christopher wrote in and said, my laser is off from the center of the needle plate. Caleb, sorry, thank you, not Christopher, Caleb. So I posted a link to how to adjust your laser to that. I also mentioned to him that on hats, because the laser is physically positioned off the right side of the needle case, that it's going to move over on you.
It's not just hats.
The thickness of the material
as
well.
The thickness of the material.
Yep.
So
Yep. Good point.
I don't know if I can show this or not, but I'm going to give it a shot. We'll see. All right, so let's try.
As long as you don't sew your finger in, we're okay.
I'm not going to sew my finger. I hope.
Kids, don't do this at home.
I'm not doing it. All right, you're killing me. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's turn the laser on. If if I look, the laser is just a little over, or I'm getting a shine of the laser, but if I set this on, all right, so can we see that? Is that working? That works fairly well as long as I actually pay attention. So, sorry, I'm shaking and it's my non-dominant hand. As I raise this up,
Oh yeah, look at that.
it goes to the right. So the thicker my material is, the more it's offset from that needle plate, the farther to the right that gets. That's okay. You can still use your laser for the alignment bits, and if you really need super specific placement, you can drop a needle and make sure, first of all, that your hands aren't under there. But you can drop the needle and make sure that it's lined up where you think it is. Bring the needle back up if it's not. Move it to that position. Try it again. On my super fiddly bits that are like scroll work and tiny, tiny little stitches, I am guilty of doing that as well. So that's another way to double check. So it may not actually be off. It may be the thickness of your material. But
cool.
Really good point.
Yeah, lesson learned. Thank you.
Cool.
I think we've answered the others. Once again, would you mind going over where we can find the information in the manual on laser alignment? And also, can you talk just briefly about what we covered today and what we didn't cover today, maybe when we're looking at that manual so we're not confused on.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm going to go into, well, let's do it a little bit nicer. Let's go into Melco OS, and this is doesn't really matter as much with the machine, so you can go, again, just by software. The one that we looked at earlier was the user interface, the simplified version, which is what we're running. So it's the one that looks like this. If you want, you can go into the advanced interface as well. They both have this information. So in the simplified, we are dealing with just aligning using those origin pieces. The red lines in Design Shop. I really need this to load, and my wireless super doesn't like me right now. There we go. You can look through, when it loads, you can look through the table of contents. So let's go back to the top. You can look through the table of contents if you're not feeling that patient. You can also just Control F and look for the word laser or alignment or registration, and you can move through it and it will find to it. You can jump and go right there. So these are the easiest ways to get to it. And these three commands really do pretty much everything you could want them to do. Just think, though, if you reverse it and you go to the other side first, it's going to rotate your design. So in some versions of this document, you will see, oh, there's 6 ways to do it. It's all the same. It's just what order I put those things in. All right, so let's go back. It super does not want to load for me today. My wireless really not happy with me. There are other options in there that we did not talk about today as much. We didn't show it, we didn't really talk about it, but using that vector line is another way to do it, to line up to things. We've talked about it in the past. We have documents on how to set that up in your manual, so if you look for that, it just really doesn't want to load. I'm sorry, guys. So you can look for it there. I can't remember how much we've done in videos. I know we've done some. I remember doing a chunk of it at a trade show one time, so there was a live version of something like this.
We're talking about the vector line?
The vector line.
Yeah, and we'll be doing a future video here in the next month or two. We'll do a video on start to finish
That's right.
using the vector line. So that will be coming up. You can scrub our archives, how Nate showed at the beginning of this video. We do have a question, though, from Robert. Looks like Robert is a Cubs fan, so go Cubs. Actually a Rockies fan, but I grew up watching the Cubs. And Robert asks, can you explain how to easily drop a needle? I go to the maintenance screen, and that's a pain. Good point, Robert.
Hey. So, yeah, there's
Get
a
it?
couple of ways to do it.
Point. Okay.
Sorry. There's a couple ways to do it. One, you can go in here and you can drop the needle, and it will drop very, very quickly.
So that's in the simplified
This
user.
is in the simplified.
Okay.
You can also, in the advanced version, go to Tools, Maintenance, Head Timing, and then go to Bottom Center, and you can't see me. And that will do it. Another way to do it, and this way is a little, it makes me a little nervous because it kills the power to the motors. If I press the e-stop, and unfortunately you can't see this super well because I've gaffer's taped the LEDs, but do the lights change anymore? I don't remember. No, they don't.
No, they stay on.
They used to. This changes red,
Yep.
so at least you can see what you're doing. But if I press this up inside, and you've seen Chris do the same thing in one of the maintenance ones, there is a bar up inside of here, and you can rotate that bar, and that will drop the needle. Just because you're doing this, you're killing the power to the machine, you're doing things manually. Do me a huge, huge favor, and just as you're doing this, before you do it, make sure the grabber's out. I have been guilty of like, it won't move because the grabber's in and it's in my way. So, yeah, the needle's down, it's all the way down. I can see exactly where things are, and that works out really, really well for me. And then to get it back, I'm just going to release the e-stop.
Without your hands in there.
Without my hands in there. Yeah, you see me step totally away. Turn in the direction of the arrows, it will release, it will go back to head up, but that's a really handy way to check it. The reason that it makes me nervous, if I'm doing something fiddly and I press on this arm a little bit too much, I may move it. So just be careful as you're doing it not to move the rack at all.
So another thought on this is I've gotten to a point where I can actually look at the active needle, and the active needle is the one that has the pressure foot.
Like perfect lineup.
Exactly. So you can do that. And then I've also seen, I'm not a fan of it, but I've also seen people use the trim immediate command to drop the needle to see where it's at.
It does it twice. There's thread involved. It's rotating that.
Like I said, I'm not a fan of it, but I've seen
totally
people
get
do
it.
that. So
yeah, it is another option. It's just not one I like.
right. The other thing is if you can push on the fabric, or the other thing is
line it up better to the laser.
If you're using your niche material, the stuff that you're sewing all the time has got a particular thickness, you can take and line up your laser to that material type. So instead of the way the laser is set up is to the bare metal of the needle plate, the hole in the needle plate itself. That's the part that the needle penetrates down into to get down to the hook area. You can actually take and put some material on that. The link, I posted a link here of how to adjust your laser. The only thing is when you go to adjust, if you move to a different type material, then your laser is going to shift on you. So something to think about. It takes quite a bit, and to be honest with you, the thickest material that you can sew on the machine is, I think it's like 0.24 inches, so just a shade under a 1/4 of an inch thick material. So, with what Nate was just showing you and how much the laser moves, he was moving almost a 1/2 inch up and down. So
I gotta make a good reference.
I just want to make sure.
Camera. That's a good point.
I want to make sure people understand that. So just the point on that.
But if you're sewing something, you say that's as thick as you can sew it. That's as thick as you can sew it when it's squished down. If you're using a very fleecy, fluffy thing, it will show.
It will pile down
and then pile down. So that's still, yeah.
So Robert, hope that answered your question. Let's see if anybody else has posted any questions in the meantime. Nate, nobody has. Once again, congratulations to Nate. 12 years here. I can't imagine Melco without you, buddy. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys. Thanks, Scott. Thank everybody for coming in on this. It's been really great. And thanks for watching. And we'll be doing more stuff in the future. So have fun. Thanks.